Hey, I wanted to do something today that's a little bit overdue, maybe a lot overdue. I wanted to talk a little bit about this, which is the split single from Dereck's InDreama, the band Conduits, Icky Blossoms, and Touch People. I know that he's been sending these out to a number of people already, and I've had mine for a while, and I've been enjoying it. And I haven't said a word on YouTube. I guess because I didn't really want to just say, yeah, it's pretty cool, thanks Dereck, and then be done with it, because I know that not only InDreama but the rest of the bands involved put in quite a bit of work on this sort of thing, as they do with probably most of their music. So I wanted to give it a little bit of time in terms of the amount of time that I listened to it, and then maybe give it some thought when I talked about it a little bit. I should qualify this as saying that I am no professional musician. I'm not even an amateur musician. I am a music fan, and I am reviewing it from that point of view. I apologize ahead of time if any of this comes across as naive or foolish sounding. I don't mean it to be. I just mean this to be an honest assessment of what I think about this record. So, without further ado, let me start rambling on a little bit about each one of these songs. First of all, as anyone who has seen a video where someone has held one of these up, you know that they're on marbled vinyl, kind of a cool marbled vinyl. One a little bit lighter than the other. This is the lighter one. This is the one with the InDreama song on it. And Conduits inside. I don't know that there's any intended order behind these things, but I'm going to kind of take a look at them in what I believe to be the order of the singles that are on there. The Conduit song is called Misery Train. I keep wanting to say Mystery Train. There's a fairly old song covered by an awful lot of people called Mystery Train. I keep wanting to call it that, and I'm sure that that's where they took the name from. I'm sure it was a sort of takeoff on Mystery Train, but Misery Train is what it is. This song is, the best way I could describe it is to call it shoegaze. I have to admit that that's not been a type of music that typically trips many triggers for me. I know that there are people who absolutely love shoegaze. I won't say it's bad music at all, it's just not for me. The vocals are female, fairly lush female vocals, maybe even layered, or possibly a couple different females, a couple different women. Speaking so scientifically here. Sort of starts off with an acoustic guitar sound that builds throughout the rest of the song, as much of the shoegaze music that I've heard tends to do. It builds to a kind of wall of sound, where at some point the vocals sort of become buried in the music. And that may be the point. I don't know. I'm not a huge lyrics person. I suppose if I had to jump on one side of the fence or the other, I probably would jump on the side of music as opposed to lyrics. But I do pay enough attention to lyrics. I guess if there's lyrics in a song, I want to be able to make out what they are. And I had a hard time with this one. The one thing that I really did like about this is that there was a kind of an insistent driving bass line through the whole thing, which I really liked. So, anyway, that's Conduits. Misery Train is the name of the song. The other side of that record is InDreama, which is our very own Dereck's band. The song is called Reprogram. I actually feel like I have a lot to say about this particular song because I like it. I'm not just, trying to blow smoke up Dereck's kilt, but I really like this song. When I first put it on, I wasn't quite sure what to make of it, And then I listened to it several more times, and each time I listened to it, I found that I was hearing things that I hadn't heard before and enjoying them thoroughly. The song sort of starts off with almost creepy kind of sound. There's a violin, I believe it's a violin. I don't know, maybe it's the violin that's giving it the creepy sound. But then about a minute and a half in, it kind of opens up. It becomes a much more full song at that point. But I hesitate to call this a song. Sometimes when I use the word song, I almost feel like I'm talking about a pop song. And this is anything but a pop song. This thing is all over the place. It's several different kinds of songs in one. And yet somehow it all manages to stay together. I'm not quite sure. Again, I wish that I was more of a musicologist or more of a professional reviewer or critic or whatever you want to call that, because then I would have words for this sort of thing. But it does it. It kind of goes in all sorts of different directions, but manages to hang together as one solid piece of music. In a way, it reminds me, in that sense, it reminds me of some of the stuff I love from Adrian Belew era King Crimson. But you know, that's not meant to be any kind of direct comparison. I'm not necessarily saying that the two sound alike. The thing that struck me the most about this particular single, about the InDreama single, is that it manages to strike this balance between electronic and organic that it just seems like the perfect balance. It's not too heavy on the electronic side, it's not too heavy on the organic side. It's somewhere in between, and it manages to pull off both equally well. It manages to tie the two together and make them taste right. There's a talking vocal part of the song that just slays me every time I hear it. I think it starts off weirdo, schizophrenic, another life, again forgetting. I'm not sure if I'm picking up those lyrics exactly correctly, but it goes on from there. I'll see if I can edit this in where I'm playing it right about here. Anyway, it's an awesome part of the song. There's just so much going on in this song that I really like. I am definitely looking forward to the full one. And again, I'm not just saying this to flatter Dereck or anything like that, or to make it seem like I love his single because he's the person on here that I know. I really do like this. I really like this song. It's probably been the song that I've played most off of this entire set of singles. The second single has Icky Blossoms on one side, the song Perfect Vision, and on the other side, Touch People with the song Sound Expression. The Icky Blossoms side might be categorized as shoegaze, but to me it feels a lot more psychedelic than that. So even if this does fall in the subgenre of shoegaze, to me it's dynamically much more interesting than the Conduits track. And again, I apologize to the Conduits folks if anyone's happened to see this. But it's more dynamically interesting. That's one of the problems I actually have with shoegaze, is that it's, at least the stuff that I've heard, is all pretty much just kind of a whoosh, a swirl of the same sounds. I'm going to get in trouble for that one, aren't I? Anyway, maybe I just need to hear more of it, or be exposed to some stuff that's really, really good or something. I don't know what my problem is with shoegaze, but it is my problem. Anyway, if this is shoegaze, if the Icky Blossoms track is shoegaze, then it's certainly much more dynamic type of shoegaze. Then it might not even be shoegaze. I don't know. I'm an idiot. Why am I even reviewing these things? There's vocally, there's kind of a droney male-female thing happening there. It works pretty well. What you would call the chorus of this song is actually instrumental, which I think is pretty cool. Not that it hasn't been done before to do things that way, but you get to the part where there's a chorus repeated. And it's basically the instrumental part. Speaking of that instrumental part, though, guitar-wise, first of all, there's a sort of what feels to me like a heavily compressed guitar sound over a relatively straightforward beat, but a beat that keeps your attention and keeps your head bobbing. So I kind of like that. In a way, that reminded me a little bit of Sleigh Bells, because like I said, the over-the-top sort of compressed guitar sound on top of that thick groove. In other ways, during the song, a lot of the guitar work kind of reminds me of maybe Jesus and Mary Chain, that sort of thing. It's a good song, though. I mean, I really enjoy this. I would definitely seek more from Icky Blossoms. And then finally, the band Touch People with the song Sound Expression. This is probably the most electronic and most experimental track of the four. Maybe that's arguable, but to my ears, that's what I'm hearing. It definitely sounds further out there than any of the other four. There's kind of it starts off with kind of like a woozy, almost off-speed synth type intro over a guitar that's being used as percussion. The beat being kept by the guitar. Vocally, there's a couple parts that really caught my attention. At one point, there's a passage that says sometimes a sound is just a sound, and it's repeated a couple times, and then it breaks into just an absolute scream of a guitar. It's a guitar sound, but it sounds like a scream from a horror movie or something like that. So that's kind of a cool part of the song right there. And then another part where the singer sings, "All you can do is make the sound that sounds like sound to you." And at first, that didn't necessarily jump out at me, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought, yeah, that's really what music is all about. That's what creating music is all about. Making the sound that sounds like sound to you, making something that sounds good to you. And I think if you make it sound good to you, it will appeal to other people. Maybe not everybody, but it will appeal to other people. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into that phrase, but that song has endeared itself to me because of that phrase. To me, it's about expression through sound, and the Touch People have managed to do that very well. Like I said, it's the most, to me, it's the most experimental and the most electronic song or track of these singles. The InDreama single probably being the second most experimental. But I would seek out more from Touch People. It's a real trip. I would definitely look for more by them. So, anyway, that's the single. And once again, I want to thank Dereck. I really appreciate him taking the time to send these out to several of us. I know Earl of Suave just did a contest where he gave away about a half a dozen of these things, which was pretty cool too. Anyway, yeah, I'm definitely going to stay tuned. I definitely want to hear more from at least a couple of those bands, and I think that this idea of them doing a split single was a pretty cool thing. I hope they do well. I hope they manage to sell quite a few of those things, and put some of that money back into more recording, more music, spreading around the love a little bit more. All right, well, thanks for listening to me babble. Again, I do apologize because I'm certainly not a professional critic or a professional music writer or anything like that. So I was just kind of wanting to give some of my impressions of this, and instead of just saying, you know, hey, great music, Dereck, thanks, I appreciate it, and then leaving it at that. So take care out there, be safe, and I'll talk to you later.